our kitchen here at Trails End 62. It's raining outside today, so I thought I'd do a little bit of canning before we get into the growing season. Today we're going to be canning dried beans. It's one of the simplest things to can, and we've got several types of dried beans we're going to be canning today. We'll show you how to do that. They're all done the same, and I do it a pretty simple way. There are a lot of different ways out there that you can do this, but I find the simplest is always the best for me. So these are the types of beans we're going to be canning. We've got white beans, great northern beans that we have there on the right, and in the middle are pinto beans. That's probably the most common type of bean. And then we have black beans, and we'll be canning all three of these types of beans. So let's get started here. They're all done the same way, and we'll show you how it's done. Now to begin with, and I've already got these done up here because I've already got started on it. These are in quart jars, and I'm going to be canning these in quart jars. For quart jars, you put in 1 cup of dried beans. Of course, you wash and clean your beans however you need to do, but you put in 1 cup of dried beans per quart, half a cup of dried beans per pint. And I've done some pints too, and we'll show you that when we get to the end here. But you put in 1 cup of dried beans per quart, half a cup of dried beans per pint, 1 teaspoon of pickling salt or canning salt or that kind of salt, and I use 1 teaspoon per quart and a half a teaspoon per pint. It's not for preservation, it's merely for flavor. The salt then gets infused into the beans and it gives them a better flavor. And so that's basically all you do to start with, and they're all done the same way, all the different kinds of beans, same way, 1 cup per quart, half a cup per pint. And then what I do, you can put cold water in if you want to, but I start my canner on the stove, and I start getting the water warm in it, not hot. And as you can see here, I've got my lids in a water here. I boil the water, then I stop it and then put the lids in it, let them soften up. I've got my rings back here. Got some vinegar here because we always use vinegar to wipe down meat and beans. And we're going to put regular tap water. I use regular tap water because we have well water. There's nothing in it. And we're going to fill these up with hot water. You can use cold water. If you use cold water, you need to start your canner on cold. But my canner, I've got warm water in it. It's not hot water, but it's just from the faucet hot. And I haven't turned it on yet. I'm going to turn it on here in just a minute. Get it started here. Get the water hot. I'm going to fill these up to 1 inch. Leave 1 inch of head space. You need that head space in there for proper processing. And that's going to be right about to the bottom of this rim. Here I probably you leave it a little less, but basically what I'll do is I'll fill each one of these up. Pints or quarts, it doesn't matter. Basically the same. The bottom of that rim. And I tend to use a little extra for these because you got to have that expansion for the beans. You don't want to blow your jars out in the canner. Okay, once all those are filled up, then I'm going to take vinegar, wet a paper towel here with vinegar, and then I'm going to wipe the rims. Oh wait, sorry, got ahead of myself there. First of all, you want to take and debubble these. You want to make sure that all the beans are in contact with water. So each one of these, just stir them up a little bit. Make sure water gets in contact with all the beans and helps them process properly. So each one of these need to be stirred. Now I'm doing 2 canners, and I've already got 1 canner done. And it's just finished. So now I'm ready to get because I only have 1 large burner, so I'm ready to get this next one on. And I've got 7 quarts of black beans. And once it's off, so I don't have to wait for it to cool down to use my canner. I just start on the other canner. Run a little bit behind. I really like to have these ready to start once I take that canner off. But I even started on the smaller burners before, but it just doesn't seem to quite get it to can on the smaller burner. And like I said, I only got one big burner, so I don't do it too long on a smaller burner because it'll just take off the steam and lose some water. Alright, once you've got your rims wiped, next you put your lids on. I'm going to take my vinegar here that I used to wipe the rim. I'll dump that in my pot. Why? Because my water here is hard. It's very hard. So put a little vinegar in there, and that keeps white residue from caking up on the side of your jars. Alright, then we can put our rings on finger tight. They don't have to be real tight. Don't want them too tight, it'll hinder the processing. Just finger tight. Set them down in the canner that I've got over here heating up. Now I put about 3 quarts, 4 quarts of water. Alright, I put about 3 to 4 quarts of water in these canners because these have to can as long as meat does. So that's an hour and 30 minutes or 90 minutes for the quarts, and an hour and 15 minutes or 75 minutes for the pints. Same as meat. So if you're canning meat and you've got a couple of extra spaces in there, you don't have a full canner full, can you some dried beans, stick them in there. They can for the same amount of time. But you can see the water comes up down to here, and I may have a little more water in there than I need, but I'd rather have a little more than a little too less. You don't want it to go dry. So I may have a little bit more in this than I really need. But I put about 3 to 4 quarts in there. 3 quarts, I think, is usually what I try to get in there to can it for this long. Alright, we got our 7 quarts in there. We're going to start that up and process those. Blow out the vents for 10 minutes, and then we'll put the jiggler on, and it'll be ready to go. Now, this is the canner I've got. It's cooling now. It's got 7 quarts of black beans. And here's some over here that I've already canned. As you can see, these are some pints of black beans that I can. And these are some pints of pinto beans that I canned. And here's a quart of pinto beans that I can. And these were all canned this way. Black beans are ready to come out. It's cooled on its own. I've taken the weight off, and now we're going to open it. Be sure and always open these canners away from you. When you open them, lift it up away from you, and that way you don't get a face full of steam. Let it drain off in there a little bit, and then set your lid aside. It is hot, so let it cool. Alright, next up, we're going to take these out here. There we go. See, they're still bubbling. Now, these will go ahead and absorb a lot of that liquid as they set, so they're still cooking. They're going to seal. And there we have our 7 quarts of black beans cooling, still bubbling, still cooking, and they'll continue to absorb that liquid. And we'll let them cool. We won't bother them. We won't remove the rings until they've cooled for about 24 hours. Then we'll check and make sure they're sealed. We may be able to make sure they're sealed before we go to bed tonight, but otherwise we won't check them till in the morning. But the beans will still be good. If they don't seal, I'll just put them in the refrigerator and eat them. But these all look pretty good. I think they're all going to seal. And we'll leave them there and let them cool for a good 24 hours before we do anything with them. Then we'll take the rims off, wash the jars. Alright, we're going to be waiting now on our white northern beans are in this canner right here, and we're waiting for them to come up to steam. And we'll be back when those are done. And here we go. The beans are all done. Taking the lid off, and they're ready to go. And you'll notice the water level was up here and it's way down there now. So as you can see, quite a bit of water has gone out of the pot. These are done. We're going to set these out over here with our black beans. might wonder, why do we can dry beans? Or dry beans, they do store good, they do stay good when they're dry. You keep them in a sealed container, keep the bugs and moisture out. Dried beans will last a long time. The problem is, dried beans need to be soaked overnight, cooked a long time before they're ready to eat. Now, we have ready to eat beans. So when I want some beans and cornbread, I just have to make up a little jiffy pack of cornbread, and I've got beans, heat them up to go with it. So quick and easy, and that's what it's all about, doing the dried beans. Making them quick, making them easy. There you have it. Canned dry beans, a meal in a jar. That's it from Trails M62, from our kitchen, your kitchen. God bless.